All right, gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Warrior Week Parable from the Pit. My guest is Dustin Gus, my friend from Warrior Week 61.
Correct.
Fuck, man, I rarely get them wrong. Sometimes I do, but the last Warrior Week of its kind, at least for the time being. What was the date of that, Dustin?
That was an honor. It was the week before Thanksgiving, so it was November 19 through 22 or something last year.
Okay, no, yeah, November timeframe. All right, brother. So we're gonna have a conversation and just to see where were you at when we started this whole experience at Warrior Week. Like, what brought you to Warrior Week, and what brought you to Warrior? What I mean is, what brought you to Warrior, and then what brought you to Warrior Week? Why don't you give us a synopsis of that, man?
Yeah. So, I was following Warrior through some social media channels for probably about 12 months or so. And I just kept watching the videos. It kept kind of screaming to me and reaching at me. And I kept kind of going, that's something kind of, it looks like it would fit my life. It would give me some different direction. And I watched, and then I saw the WarriorCon 3 tickets kind of come up, and I kind of toyed around with that. And then I ended up making the plunge, and I got myself a ticket. I don't know anybody in Warrior. I don't know really anything about it. All I can see is what's online. And I bought a ticket. I bought an airplane ticket. I booked a hotel, and I came down for 3 days of just intensity. And it was quite insane not knowing anything about Warrior and sitting in this room with 1,200, 1,300 individuals all dressed in black and all men, and just you could feel the power. And I'm a little claustrophobic, so I sat on the edge, and I was like, there's the exit. And I'm like, so I dove into it in a sense of it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I would say right away, within the first 2 hours, I knew I was meant to be there. But I remember Coach Garrett up there saying, many of you are going to walk out of this room. It's not for you. It's not your place to be, and or it doesn't fit. And I did. I saw people drop out and walk out, and just it wasn't for them. And I like the aggressive angle. I like the approach, and it worked for me. So it kind of grabbed me from that point, and I learned so much over those 3 days. And that's what really made me addicted. There were some questions in there that were the most profound questions that I've ever asked myself, because I was told to. And I never really asked myself, how much did you make? How do you feel about it? How much did you save? How do you feel about it? And these are questions that, they're basic, but really, are they? Do you really ask yourself and then give yourself an honest answer to it? And those are some things that changed my mind frame. And then all the speakers and your intensity and the program as a whole was amazing.
Beautiful. And so let's go to day one, right? So you're brand new. Were you there by yourself, or anybody else was with you?
Just by myself.
So you're by yourself, sitting in there, and let's go to like the first hour. Lights get shut down, and like just the first hour, right? So what were you thinking at that time? Like, what the hell is going on?
What the hell's going on? I'm in some cult. This is some crazy stuff. I don't know what's going to happen if bullets are going to start flying. I see security guys wandering around. Like, it's intense. And I went through boot camp, so and I grew up on a Marine Corps base. So like, for me to be around like aggressive natured men, no problem. I grew up with it my whole life. But I'm like, what the fuck am I in? This is insane right now.
Yeah, there was a guy walking around with a dog.
Yeah. And then it was, stand up, look the guy next to you in the eyes, and tell him your biggest lie. And I was like, oh my God, like, what? How do you do that? Like, I'm not trained in Warrior, right? I stand up and I'm like, my biggest lie. I think I'm a pretty honest person. I tell you, by the end of the first day, and definitely by the end of the third day, I was like, I'm a liar. And you don't know you're a liar till you dig in yourself and expose and unearth those lies that rest inside you that you tell unintentionally or intentionally.
Amazing, amazing experience, and we get to talk about it more. I think you remember where the guy was on the phone, and his phone got smashed on the stage with with like literally. I didn't realize that, man. Like that, I took his phone and I smashed it, but I didn't realize only like 2 years after when I watched the video that I took the stairs of the stage and I smacked it with this, the stairs that allow somebody to go. That's what I took, and I started hammering this phone with. Uh, I was like, okay, that must have been fucked up on the other side. So anyway, man, you go through that. At the end of that experience, there's a window that opens up. You sign up for Warrior Week, and you sign up for Warrior, and an intense conversation begins. So talk to me. You come to day one. What was your experience of day one in Warrior Week, particularly inside of the pit?
That's a deep place, right? It's intense. There's intensity there. The first piece that got me, the pit was one thing, and that that made me dig, right? And I go into the pit, and I knew I'd gone through Be the Man event, and that enlightened me and all the training ahead of going to Warrior Week. But going to the pit, and I was intentional about the rocks I picked up and the size of them, and knowing that I had to walk back out of there with them and put them in that sack. And when we came back, I had no idea, obviously no idea what the hell's going on. And I sat down, and then I remember you called me out and said, "Gus," and I got in the back of the wagon, and you rolled me over to this little hut, and it was 4 walls and a roof. It was a little box.
Yeah.
And I was put in that box, and it was shitty weather, right? It started raining, and all the other guys are exposed to the elements, and I'm sitting there with my sandwich looking out for rats, and I set all my rocks up in like a stadium kind of setting in front of me. So they're looking at me, and they had this like position, and I looked at each one of them, and I thought about what it was and the person or the people that surround it, and the feelings and the emotions. And I had hours with myself and nothing else. And I've never really taken that time to turn the microscope on me. And you gave us that opportunity. You laid that out and said, "This is for you. Nobody's going to help you. This is yours, your time. Figure it out." And when I was in that box, I was in a company with one of my companies with my brother.
Yeah.
And I fucking hated the company. And I realized this at Warrior Con 3 that it was demoralizing me. It was taking my energy, and it was dismantling me. And I was still stuck in it, and I was still married to it, and I was a slave to it. But being in that box, I tell you, got me out of that company faster than shit, because I was put myself in this wood box, and that was a wood company. Yeah. Yeah. So it's the metaphors and the pieces and the gifts that were given to me with the intent of where I was and who I was with were amazing.
Beautiful. We come out of that first experience that night, and then next morning we find ourselves completely on the other side, right, into this other experience on the beach. And 61 was very special. We experienced a I don't know what the fuck we experienced, bro, but because it wasn't planned, and like literally we go to this location and it's fucking raining like crazy, and I'm like, okay, we stand out, waiting to figure out where we're gonna be on beach. So it's just a waiting period to figure out what we're gonna do. I send the crew to go figure out where we're gonna do, and the crew goes in the wrong direction, and we get stuck in this location. There's no way back going to the bus. We're just on this location, standing there, and it's cold, and it's rainy, and it's windy. And literally, other than simply standing, we had no other choice. So we stood, and we waited, and something special happened. What was your experience with that, man? And how did that day impacted you?
Well, the power of us as a group, and you gave us guidance and said, "Look, there's a little sliver of blue sky up there. Keep watching it. keep praying for it to open. And when God parted the skies and opened up for that time being for us to be able to go from seeing the water and nothing but fog and the clouds and the elements to opening up the blue sky and allowing the island to come out and be a clear visibility to us in that special moment of 25, 35 minutes was something they'll never experience again without question. But it was so powerful and so revelating, and to be there was an honor, and to experience that was one of life's gems.
I think what it did for all of us that day is that it printed an image into our mind that no matter what and no matter how hard life is going to get from that moment, if we keep that experience, 25-minute experience, that was orchestrated by the man upstairs, if we keep that in mind and simply bring ourselves to that moment where we were standing in cold rain and freezing and misery. It was pure fucking misery. It was so miserable that I didn't even want to fucking talk and give a speech or have a conversation or even ask anybody a fucking question, because it was miserable time. It was literally miserable time. In that moment, we just surrendered to this one hope, which was this window of clouds in the horizon. We had no idea where the fuck we were standing. We had no idea. And then as the window starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger, in such that the clouds went away and the sun started shining on us, giving us heat, warming us up, making us comfortable. And the final piece was the revelation of an island. Now, we know there was an island, but I don't know. Typically, we never stand where we stand. There is where we stood. It's not our typical place to stand. There's a typical place that we stand, which is way like a mile down there and has us aimed and always at the island, and we can see it. Like, this was a total surprise for all of us, right? So we see the island and there's a message there. And the message was like, we needed to go on the beach that day and just have a conversation with God. And that was the evolution that we came out there. And we were not told no that day. We were told, yes, you can come and talk to me. And that was the message. And so as simple that is, as simple as that, at that moment is something that we all carry in our heart, in our mind. And COVID comes in, and today's fucking element of hate, fear, and anxiety and separation taking place as a pandemic among men's mind. We stand there with that moment, because even in shit like that, like, we know that at any given time, we can be in a place where the light is shining upon us and we can have a conversation. So yeah, for me, it was a very special moment as well, knowing that it was the last Warrior Week of its kind. And we didn't know COVID is coming. We didn't know we're moving to virtual events for Warrior Week. We were always virtual, but for Warrior Week specifically, we didn't know all that. We were just unplugging from that model. And to witness that and have that experience. I don't know what else I could ask better out of the 61 Warrior Weeks that we have experienced, and over 100 of guys that have came in here and shared their experience. So you take that gift and you bring that home. What has happened in your house? What has happened in your business? What is going on with Dustin as a man, his certainty, his confidence, the way you make decisions, the way you connect with a group of guys that were with you in that experience, and how that become your tribe, and how you're constantly present inside of this mission of Warrior, right? Your mission, which is, I'm going to make myself fucking better every single day. And I'm glad that I have a bunch of guys around me that choose to do the same thing. So where is Gus at today in all areas of his life?
So for me, to come out of Warrior Week, I journaled after every day, and I wrote down my thoughts and my feelings, because I knew I needed to have and capture the moments that were happening. And on my way home on the plane, I journaled the entire way home too. And I sat there writing, and tears are rolling out of my eyes, and I'm happy as hell, and I'm seeing crazy visions out the window. And it was powerful. And it kept me on this cloud for quite some time, and to be connected to to the Brotherhood and to have the relationships that I've been able to keep out of Warrior Week 61 are profound and powerful. And I don't even know what I'd do without that in my life right now. You know, the decisions that I do make are with clarity. They're with intensity. They're with thought. You know, the insight is so different. When I look at body, being, balance, and business, and those four elements and the focus I put on them every day, those were never part of my vocabulary before. Those were not part of my daily thought process. So the man I've become, the ability to enhance myself as a father, as a husband, as a businessman, has transformed beyond my wildest beliefs. And I put it out in 4 quadrants.
Yeah. Okay.
And I say, I go with the body, being, balance, business.
Yeah,
I put clarity, understanding, insight, and stability. And every single one of those 4 fit into every single one of those 4. And because I just have learned and grown a tremendous amount.
When you came home from Warrior Week, right? Like there's this massive amount of energy inside of you. How was your first encounter with your wife, right? How was that week with your wife at home?
So I had intentionally set us up to go unplug. So I came home and we went to Whistler for a week.
Okay.
And it was Thanksgiving week, right? So it was a short week anyway. And I just took the whole family up to Whistler, and we just had a great family time. The bonding was there. My clarity was there, especially for who I want to be as a father and how I want to show up. So that next week was powerful because I took the time just to be with my family and to be with me and step away from business for a minute, because one of the things that a good friend of mine has always said to me many times in my history and my lifelong entrepreneurship was, you know, Dustin, the one thing they're not going to put on your tombstone is he didn't work hard enough. So to put the work away and to go spend my time with family meant a lot. And that clarity came through in many ways in Warrior Week.
So as a result of that today, right, how many times you actually catch yourself just having a small dialogue with things like, hey man, you know what? I'm present right now. Right. I mean, we talk about the book project that you did, we get to talk about that more at the end, and the website and share everything. But you did a really special project with your son, 4 other kids, and dude, like that really hadn't anything to do with work. That was just passion and hobby and contribution and also having to be present with your kids. What are the moments that you caught yourself saying, fuck, I'm just present right now in this moment? Yeah, I work hard. Yeah, you know, I can't match the amount of time I work with the amount of time that's spent with my family. It's just, that's not the fucking point of this. It's about the intensity that I bring him home matches the same intensity that I have at work, right? My intensity is the same level. I'm intensely present with my client and my children. So talk to us about how many times you actually noticed that, just a little moment that, fuck, where before Warrior Week or before Warrior Experience, you might have those, but like you didn't have the mechanism to just capture it and say, I'm present. Like give yourself fucking points for that without nobody knowing.
Right. Well, I'd say I've become much more intentional. Like I'm very intentional with the time I spend with my son. He's 7. I got a 1-year-old daughter. I'm very intentional with the time I spend with her. And the relationship I have with my wife has grown profoundly. Like I listen to her differently. I talk to her differently. I think about her emotions from her perspective more than I ever have in the past. And the frustrations that she might have at certain times, whether it's from the family or from me or from other elements around us. And the intention of all of those aspects has changed me as an individual, because I'm much more intentional with my work as well. And when I come home, I'm home. And I don't work on the weekends, and I don't work at night. And I used to just kind of be around the clock. and I really try to unplug and leave it alone. And I've become so much more productive because of it. My energy is guided in a different way, and I'm giving my energy to my family and myself where it needs to be done, and then I give the energy to the business when it needs to be done.
You know, a lot of my neighbors and a lot of guys, they're not necessarily a warrior at all. They don't even ask, but I see them trapped in this dilemma of just like business and then the obligation of family, but really they call it obligation,
Yeah.
right? It's not, and that by itself, it's like, hey, I got family obligation. I'm like, okay, what the fuck, man? What does that mean? Family obligation? Like, look at the way you're labeling it.
Right.
Like, you get to have this family, not that you have to have it. So, but the labeling is a projection of how they operate and how they feel inside, and what they're not able to share and be honest about, which is the same guy that came into WarriorCon 3, which was you. It wasn't that you were a bad guy. It wasn't that you were a crazy liar or a malicious liar, but you just didn't have the mechanism to just get honest with yourself with some basic question and don't tolerate any answer but the truth. The problem is that we often tolerate our own assumption and justification, and we label that as something that, okay, I guess it's like this for the time being, but in the future, I'll make it different. So we literally, we make the worst deal ever. We sell now to future. The worst deal of all time is to sell now, right now, I am, your state right now, to I will be. And we don't recognize that who we are right now is much bigger than who we were, and who we are about to become is completely dependent on who we accept to be today. And we don't. And we're lost in this shenanigan of I was, I am, and I will be. And we have a different story that we borrow from these periods of time that serves us based on our assumption and justification. So the formula becomes very simple. I assume and justify that I was makes sense. So I live in the past and I refuse to live in my imagination, and yet I don't even know where I am today. Now, again, listen, man, I don't want to get into some philosophical conversation, but you understand what I'm talking about is this concept of being present has become so complicated, like books make it overcomplicated. What is being present? What is being present, Dustin, at the simplest fucking level that you experience?
Being present has a sense of reality and realism. Because to me, like, you know, one of the things I realized with my family is I showed, can't say that anymore, but I showed no vulnerability. And I kept myself as this, you know, I'm a little guy, but I still kept myself as this statured, powerful man. And I am a powerful man. But I have no problem shedding some tears. You know, I cry through happiness or sadness or joy, whatever it can be. But I showed my son no vulnerability. So he wasn't open to me. And I wasn't being there. I wasn't living in the moment and being present. And I needed to change that. And I did change that because I started learning about different philosophies and the openness of being here. So I'm much more present for him. I'm much more present with my wife. The conversations that we have are about now. And I don't live for the future. I do things for the future, and I don't live in the past. That's for damn sure. I learned from the past.
Wow. Yeah. And the biggest takeaway, biggest gift that you have in Warrior Week or any Warrior experiences, I mean, if there's a moment you can recall to, what would that be?
Wow, it's a hard question to pop off a sharp answer because there's so many. You know, I've done the fact map 3 times this year.
Yeah.
And the clarity I get out of those is unreal. And that tool alone, I mean, I would say the bag of tools that I walk around with and that I carry, you know, it's in my device or whatever, it's in my head. But those tools that I've obtained through Warrior are the pieces that I value the most. I value tremendously relationships as well, because I'm having conversations with brothers that I can't have with my best friends or my relatives. I can't open up the same way. They don't understand. They don't get it. They don't know the mechanisms of it. And I can talk to somebody that I barely know, and we know each other with depth.
So true. So true. It is absolutely. And that's one of the problems. And a lot of our audience listening to this, some are in warrior, many are not. And some resonate with this conversation, but there's a way to go way deeper. When I talk to you, you and I don't talk on the surface. Like the possibility of a lie between you and I does not exist, because you and I have entered inside of a relationship over time, and a way of operating. We use the same tool to construct and operate, and we have eliminated any possible lies between us. Why? Because we know that it's not going to serve you or me in my life. And that relationship is purified over time and over time and over time. Do we lie? Fuck yeah, we lie, man. Do we catch ourselves in our lies? Yes. Do we course correct? Yes. What brings us to these lies that we accept? We don't generate lies. We typically borrow lies that are flying around and, oh, nice, this is a little fucking story and a lie that I can borrow. And what makes me go grab it is my feelings. I get triggered by some shit. I think that's what I want, and I'm not being relevant to exactly what I said I wanted to want. And I come back to my tools and say, what is it that I want this year? Well, this year I want to build a relationship that is 10x with my wife and my kids. Right? And okay, describe what the fuck 10x is, because right now you're pretty generic. So the tool takes you to this micro level specific targets that seems impossible at the point that you're designing them. And then the daily action, the weekly action, the monthly action puts you in check with what you said you're going to do. And then you find out weekly, daily, monthly, quarterly, that you are a liar. And you don't carry a guilt and shame, and you don't try to hide it. You course correct and you move on. And such is life. And I compare myself, like you said, to my family or my, I don't really have much friends, bro. Like everybody's in fucking warrior, but there's one or two guys and that are not in warrior. And I compare the way I operate with the way they operate. Yes, I can socialize with them, but that's about it, which limits the time that I want to spend with them. I could literally not fucking spend 3 days with the people that don't have the tools and the mechanism of it. I'll just go fucking nuts. I would want to run away and disconnect, which defeats the whole purpose of connecting. So, man, I find myself tolerating a lot of places and a lot of situation because of my wife, right? My wife wants to go here. My wife wants to go there. And I go, and the places we go, there are other married men, friends of the wives, and conversation, like talking about sports and alcohol. Yeah, man, I'm not a fucking asshole. I can talk about tequila and I'm talking about sports, but do I want to talk about that for 6 hours and avoid everything else? And in the midst of it, constantly project how my relationship is fucked up with my wife, because that's what they're doing. In the middle of it, like they're throwing these little stones, sarcastic comments, family obligation, and they're revealed. Like the misery and pain is revealed. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I can't make the choice for this person. Have you found yourself in those positions lately?
Because of COVID, I find myself in solitary confinement far too often. But it's with my family, so I feel blessed in that regard. Yeah. But I do have some friends that are mentors, and I went and saw one earlier this week, and I needed to get out. I needed to have some face time. We sat across each other from a table 7-8 feet away, and he's a guy that I've always gone to when I have a hard topic or a hard conversation in business or a contract, or I'm negotiating something and I just don't have clarity. He just breaks it down. He's like, hey, where are we at? And he instinctively does it in a very warrior-like way. So when I go talk with him, like he doesn't know the warrior's way, but he lives in this sense of a world that we can just sit and talk about nothing, unstructured time, and we walk away from it with power. I can't do that with all my friends. A couple of best friends around, they don't get it. You know, I tell them about warrior, like they think I'm in some sort of fucking cult, and I'm like sitting in the stand singing Kumbaya, and I'm like, dude, fuck off. You have no fucking idea where you are and where I am and where I'm going and where you will be.
It is true. That is true. So any final words for a specific guy, a guy that is listening this through a device right now, a phone device, an audio device, through his, you know, the device from his car, whatever, he's listening to this, or a guy that's watching this video right now. This could be next week when this is published. This could be years from now, right? But there's a guy, and this guy, you know this guy really well. This guy is the guy that kind of like found the warrior, was at the beginning, that like the first couple of messages, right? So, and this podcast is kind of like that. And now you're being given the voice, like it's like literally rewinding time and seeing yourself. If you would talk to this guy, which would be the old version of you prior to warrior experiences, what would be your message straightforward to this guy that you would have wanted to receive at that time, which you got in the warrior's way? But if you were about to create a shortcut of 2.5 years for this guy, what would be your message going directly to this guy?
It's pretty simple. It's like 4 words. Why are you hesitating? And I constantly ask myself and beat myself up over this. But, you know, when you know something's right and you know to go down a path, don't hesitate. You know, convict and go. And when you hesitate, you leave too much on the table. Commit and run forward. But the hesitation kills far too much in life. And I think far too many people hesitate. And that you know, I learned that in one of the Warrior Week evolutions, when we went into the situation where your wife was being held at gunpoint and you had a gun on your hip. And I sat there and looked at the guy and hesitated, and he shot my wife in the head. And why the fuck did I hesitate? Don't hesitate. But I constantly stack that. I stacked that, I think, earlier this week too. Why am I hesitating on this or that? And don't hesitate.
Yeah, and we talked about this. Hesitation is the source of fear, and fear doesn't exist without its generator, which is the hesitation. The minute you hesitate, you create the fog of fear, and you're inside of that. We talked about many times. One of the ways to deal with any fear that you may be in right now, any anxiety or any stories that may be holding you back from what you want. You may know what you want, but you don't know how to get it. Let's not kid ourselves. If you knew how to get what you wanted, you most probably wouldn't even fucking listen to this conversation up to this point. So you kind of know what you want. You may not know what you want, or you know exactly what you want. Either way, there's a level of clarity that will tell you what you want and how you can get it. And ultimately, the experience that begins it is called Warrior Week. And now it's happening inside of a Warrior Week virtual. You can find more details about it at warriorweek.com/plus, PLUS. So you can go in there, or directly go to www.warriorweekplus.com and watch the videos and watch testimonials and look at them and apply and participate. You can find that on the page of this podcast at warriorweeknow.com. There'll be links inside of that, and you can click and you can begin your journey. And yeah, I would second the message of Dustin, is just don't hesitate. If the message resonates with your heart, give yourself to discover a chance. Give yourself a chance to find out more. So as we bring this podcast to conclusion, there's one more project I want to talk about, and I want you to bring the little man inside of this. Why don't you both talk to us about the little project that you guys created?
Thank you. This guy is so excited. You have no idea. Running in and out of the room here.
This is the man.
Come on, buddy. Come here. Look at him.
Ow! What's up, buddy? Yeah, I got the Warrior T-shirt.
He's got the power on.
Yeah, Carpe Noctem. Good looking kid, man. Okay, let's talk about the project.
So we have, I wrote a book, you know, and it's really WarriorCon 3. I had this book in my head for quite some time. The Voice told me about this book 20 years ago. And it was to write a book about the value of a dollar.
Bring the whole family, man. Bring the whole family. Hello. Bring the whole family. It's fine.
No.
All right, let's talk about the book.
There we
By the
go.
way, thank your wife for the amazing rundown that she made.
Oh.
I've enjoyed the whole plate, and I've all licked the plate as well last time. Thank you so much.
More coming. Well, it was to write the story about the value of a dollar, and what it turned into was buck making sense. And this is a book that's for 5 to 10-year-olds. My dog thinks she should be in the conversation right now. That just relates the dollar to the coins, and it's a fun way to explain it and read through with the kids. There's some workbook exercises in it, and it's transpired into more than just this book. We've created Buck Academy, and I've got a couple other books that are coming out. The Dark Side of the Buck, that talks about credit cards and debt. And we have this little book you can get at buckacademy.org. You can get the Quick Sense to a Buck. It's a free PDF on there. You can get a little a published version of it for a couple bucks. But it's really just to be able to give people the tools for youth financial education, and the personal financial educations that I didn't get, my wife didn't get, many people I know around. You know, people just don't know how to manage money. And if we teach these children when they're young how to manage money, it sets them up for life in a different way. It sets them up for different freedoms, and you're not slaves to certain things that we all can get away with if we do better with our finances. And unfortunately, you know, I always say, don't live for money. You know, money's a tool. I've always looked at it my entire life that way. It's no different than a hammer or a screwdriver if you use it right. But if you don't know how to use it, then it will own you. You know, if you have a screwdriver sitting around and you don't know how to use it and you got a screw you need to take out, it's worthless. But if you know how to use it, then you can live more free and live a more blessed life.
Beautiful. Where can we find more information about the project?
At buckacademy.org. And we've got things on there. We have money gift cards, which I also created for my son. It was the first one I made was for his 6th birthday. It's an oversized gift card. It's you can put some dollars in, and I gave him 100, a 50, a 20, a 10, a 5, a 2, and a 1, and then one of each coin. So it was like $188.41. And then I took him down to the bank. We opened a bank account. So then I got the idea that, you know, wait, let's just make these cards, and we can give these to other parents so they can tell their kids, you know, the value, what money is, how it is. Go open a bank account with them, so you can get a money gift card or one of our books, and we have some other things coming out in the future too. But www.buckacademy.org.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for bringing your beautiful family. It was a beautiful gift at the end to have everybody involved, and it's a beautiful recording that will be yours for many years to come. We look forward to seeing you here very soon. Thank you for the food that your wife made and brought. Just bring more next time. and yeah, man, thank you. And I want to thank our audience for listening to this amazing podcast with my friend Dustin Gus, graduate of Warrior Week 61, an amazing Warrior Week as we talked about. And if you want to find out more about our podcast, you can go to warriorweekplus.com. Until then, take care of yourself and each other. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Coach Sam.